Hello everybody, I'm Kamaleao, welcome to my channel, and Hearthstone has a new expansion, or will get a new expansion, a new set of cards. It was announced at BlizzCon, and it's called the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan. And as usual, Blizzard is drip feeding us cards beforehand. They're revealing cards in small batches. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take a quick look at the cards that have been revealed so far. This is not an in-depth review for two reasons. One, I don't think that in-depth reviews really make sense until you have all the cards, because you don't know all the interactions, and many times interactions is what makes cards really powerful. And the other reason is I haven't looked at these cards so far. I wanted this to be just a first impression thing, so that's what it is, first impression. Let's get to it. The neutral cards. Mistress of Mixtures. It's a 1-mana 2/2. That in itself is already quite good. There's one other 1-mana 2/2 in standard right now. And that's a druid exclusive. So getting a neutral one is quite strong. And the effect Death Rattle, restore 4 health to both players. Now that is really nice. For one thing, that makes it not a good choice for all the aggro decks out there, because as an aggro deck you don't want to heal your enemy and you don't care that much about your own health. But when you are a control deck, you don't care about your opponent's health, you do care about your own. So if you're playing a control heavy deck, a text like this, restore health to both players, you can essentially, like 90% of the time, you can read that as restore health to yourself. Because with most control decks, you're not going to attack your opponent early anyway, so he will be at full health most of the time, unless he's maybe a warlock, and even then you don't really care if he has 4 or more or less health. It won't make that much of a difference most of the time. But generally, your opponent will be at full health. And even if not, you don't care that much. You care about yourself, you care about surviving until you can get out your really big things. So, for control, if you're a control player, this more or less reads, this is a 1-mana 2/2, heal yourself for 4. And considering that so far we had a 1-mana 2/1, heal yourself for 2, or heal something for 2, this is really much, much better. This is essentially the new ghoul. The new 2/3 heal your opponent for 5. And it's arguably better. Arguably worse. Depends if the 3 health is, the 1 more health or 1 less health, depending on how you look at it. It's going to make much of a difference, but that has to be seen. But I think this card will definitely see play in control decks. The question is, might it see play in something like Zoo? Because if you play it early on, you haven't damaged your opponent, and Zoo is a little bit less face heavy than many other deck, or than other aggressive decks. So you might get away with attacking your opponent's face, not attacking your opponent's face early, but you might want to use this to establish early game board control. And on the other hand, healing yourself for 4 could also be useful because you're damaging yourself as a warlock. So definitely a great card for control. Might be a slight possibility for Zoolock. I don't know, but maybe possible. All in all, great card. Will definitely see play, both for Constructed and Arena. I'm quite certain of that. Friendly Bartender. 2/3 for 2. At the end of your turn, restore 1 health to your hero. For Arena, this is a nice card. Anything that has the standard baseline stats of 2/3 or 3/2 and an upside is good enough for Arena, generally. You wouldn't be too sad to pick this. In Constructed, is restoring 1 health to your hero, especially that early on, going to be that much of an effect? I mean, how long would this have to be in play to be better than than just a 2-drop that has a more direct effect on the battlefield. Like, I don't know, Flame Juggler, something like that. So I'm always happy to see hero healing mechanics, because, well, I prefer playing slower games. I prefer playing control, and to do that you need heal. Or at least heal is very helpful. But I think this healing effect is a little bit too small. Of course, it could run out of control if you can keep this guy alive for a long time, but it's only a 2/3. Keeping this one alive is, well, probably tricky. So, yeah, it's not bad, but I don't think that it's really good. Cookie Chemist, a 4-mana 4/4. Battlecry, swap the attack and health of a minion. So it has the spare part essentially put into it, or it's a stronger. What was the name? The alchemist. That's a 2/2 that swaps health and attack, and that one rarely sees play. The big dream with those is always to kill your opponent's Doomsayer. Like, your opponent is a freeze mage, and he plays. You have like 2 or 3 minions on the board. He plays Frost Nova or Doomsayer, and you Cookie Chemist that. That's going to be huge. But that's a very, very narrow use of the card. If that comes up, it's going to be awesome. That might, on its own, win you the game. But that's very specific against one specific deck. And most other cases, does it make so much sense to swap attack and health? I don't know. I kinda doubt it. And the stats are a little bit subpar. Maybe in Arena, I'd say in Arena it could be a little bit better, because in Arena you tend to have a little bit clunky minions with stranger stat distribution. And there it could have more of an effect to swap the stats. And if not, you could at least destroy totems with it, maybe. So, yeah, I think in Arena it's not terrible. In Constructed, I don't really see this one being played, because its main advantage that I see, being able to outright kill Doomsayers, we already have a card that does that, and nobody plays it in Constructed. So, yeah, doesn't seem too good. Card art seems strange. Oh, okay. This seems to be a female body with a male head. So it's swapped. That's cute. Cool. The Grukfu Master. 5 mana, 3/5 Wind Fury. Yeah. That's bad. That's just bad, I'd say. I mean, almost all the Wind Fury cards are bad, because it's a 5 mana with less stats than a 4-drop, and it'll probably just get killed by your opponent before it can do anything. And even if it can attack, even if it survives and it can attack on your turn, it's 5 mana to deal 6 damage. Many other minions without Wind Fury can do that, and or almost do that. For 5 mana, you get a 5/6, and I'd say a 5 mana 5/6 is probably better than a 5 mana 3/5 Wind Fury. So, nah, not too impressed by this. Neither in Constructed nor in Arena. Of course, you can buff it up with lots of stuff, but that's true for every Wind Fury minion, and it rarely works. Next one, the second-rate Bruiser. 5 mana, 4/5 Taunt. So you're paying essentially 1 additional mana to get a Taunt. Costs 2 less if your opponent has at least 3 minions. Okay. At first I thought it is if your opponent has 3 more minions than you. That would be quite bad, because that's a situation you never want to be in. But if he has at least 3 minions, it doesn't matter how many you have. So if you can pull this off with the effect, it's a 3 mana 4/5 taunt, and that's quite good. That's really good. If it's a 4/5 taunt for 5, I don't know if you'd play that. If it is a 3 mana 4/5 taunt, I'm quite certain you'd play that. Are you going to get into the situation with yeah, I think with if the Zulok stays relevant and stays as important as it is, and also Shaman with, I mean, they also tend to throw out quite a number of minions at the same time and have quite a number of minions at the same time with totems and everything. The rate at which you can throw that out on turn 3 might actually be high enough to keep this card in your hand. So, yeah, I wouldn't say this is a great card out of the bat, but it has potential. It could be good. Both in Construct and Arena. In Arena, maybe a little bit less good, because, yeah, in Arena, definitely less good. Because in Arena, you'd want to clear your opponent's board as quickly as possible. And your opponent is less likely to have that many flood minions most of the time. So there you are. I think you're less likely to be able to play it cheaply in Arena than you are in Constructed against Zoo, against Shamans. Big Time Racketeer. A 6 mana 1/1 battle cry, summon a 6/6 ogre. So you get 7/7 worth of stats for 6 mana distributed on a 6/6 and a 1/1. For Arena, that's obviously awesome. That's quite good. Usually for 6 mana you get a little bit less than that. You get, I think, a 6/7. And that's... Do you even get that? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Well, definitely this is good for Arena. In Constructed, a 6 mana minion that has, I think, this one here, the little friend, is the one that the Big Time Racketeer summons, probably. Most likely. 6 mana cards that have no text at all, only stats. The stats would have to be insane, I'd say, for them to be good in Constructed. And while the stats are good, I wouldn't call them insane. So for Constructed, nah, not too impressed. For Arena, that's a good Arena card. Fell Orc Fiend. 3 mana, 3/7. At the start of your turn, deal 2 damage to this minion. Okay, so at your opponent's turn, it's a 3 mana, 3/7. And at your own turn, when you can do something with it, it is at best a 3 mana, 3/5. Now, if you have a class which can heal it, that could be quite nice. If it's a 3/5 and you use it to kill maybe a 2/3, then it's a 3/3. It would still survive to your turn and be able to kill another thing before it gets, unless your opponent does something to it or pings it or something. So yeah, could be an okay card if you're able to cheaply heal it up again. Okay, also possible. If you have an easy way of silencing it, that would be okay or good, but there isn't really a card. I mean, I wouldn't play Purify for this. Then you would pay 5 mana and a card, and you need 2 cards in your hand to do that, to get a 3/7. And that's, I'd say, not amazing. There are better things you can do. that aren't seeing any play. So, no. But on its own, with maybe some heal as a priest, potentially. I mean, even if it only survives to U-turn, it's a 3-5, and that's good. But then it loses health again. As I'm not too impressed by this. Windup Burger. 6 mana, 5/5, mech. Whenever this attacks a minion and survives, draw a card. Okay. That is interesting. Would you play a 6 mana, 5/5, draw card? Potentially. Drawing a card is a very, very strong mechanic. Any card that draws cards is always something that you have to consider as good or potentially good. The problem that I see here is it has to attack a minion. It doesn't work. I mean, you play this and then it's your opponent's turn and he might just fireball it or sheep it or attack into it and kill it. And then it's a 6 mana 5/5 that did nothing. Sylvanas would be so much better. But if you manage to pull this off, then anything that you can pull off that draws cards is strong. So if you can maybe give this stealth for a turn and then buff itself to make it survive, maybe for more than one attack, or give it Wind Fury and attack twice, or something like that, then it could be very good. So here it's the big question is, can you pull it off? If you can pull it off, if you can pull it off multiple times, then it becomes really, really strong. If you cannot pull it off, if your opponent is able to kill it right away, then it's not so good. In Arena, it's on the one hand better because it's less likely for your opponent to be able to have a straight answer to it, because less fireballs, less violence portals and stuff like that. On the other hand, it's a bit weaker because you are most likely not to have too many cards to support it, like less likely to be able to give it Divine Shield or something like that. So, perhaps, maybe, could be interesting. Patches the Pirate. Arr. A 1/1 pirate for 1 with charge. After you play a pirate, summon this minion from your deck. Okay. So you generally don't want to have this in your hand. You want to keep this in your deck and have other pirates on your hand and play them. And then have that pull out charge, Patches the Pirate. Which is nice. You essentially get an additional 1 damage out of every pirate, or the first pirate you play. A good thing I see about this is it thins out your deck. And in many decks you want to thin out your deck, so you have less cards in your deck. You're more likely to draw the cards you need to draw. On the other hand, I mean, if you get this on your hand, if you draw this regularly, then it's not really good. In fact, then it's pretty bad. And it's really bad. And I'd say most of the time this is not going to make have too much of an impact anyway, because it's just a 1/1 and you cannot control when it happens. It happens with your first pirate, and you essentially want to or have to play that as quickly as possible, because if you draw this, then it's really bad. So, yeah, I think you'd play this mostly for the effect of thinning out your deck. In a pirate deck, obviously. Auction Master Beardo. Beardo. It's a 3 mana 3/4 that in itself is already quite good. After you cast a spell, refresh your hero power. Okay. So, well, the stat line is already great. This is something you would want to play generally as a 3-drop 3/4. Nothing wrong with that. The effect, how can that effect be good? When would you want that? Maybe as a warrior? especially when you have upgraded your hero power. Then you can gain 8 armor in 1 turn, or even more. And as a warrior, you have cheap spells like Shield Slam, which costs 0. So there you could potentially do a combo where you hero power, Shield Slam, hero power, Shield Slam, hero power, execute hero power, and still have, is that enough? 3, 4, 6, nah, okay, wouldn't exactly work like that. You would need a 1 mana spell, but you get my point. To make this thing or this effect really worth it, you would want a strong hero power that you really benefit from using it multiple times. Maybe on a Shadow Priest when you have Mind Shadow, will deal 3 damage. And then stuff like Smite or something, so cheap spells and a strong hero power. If you get that combination, that could potentially be good. In Arena, not so much. I mean, Arena, the stat line is obviously great, but the effect is going to be pretty much useless because you don't get that many spells. You only get the basic hero power most of the time, so yeah. It could be interesting combination with Inspire, if you can pull that off, but then you'd have to have an Inspire minion on the board and probably have it survive for 1 turn, or have the Auction Master survive for 1 turn in order to get that going. But yeah, with Confessor Petrus, I think they will go. I don't think that it's going to be reliable or really strong because of that, but I'm pretty certain people will make videos of having Auction Master Pedro on the board and Confessor Petrus, and then just having Petrus trigger like 3 times or something. That's going to be funny. So yeah, interesting card. Actually looking forward to trying this out in Warrior and in Priest. Finya, the Flying Star. 5 mana, 2/4 Murloc. That's terrible stats. Stealth, whenever this attacks and kills a Murloc, summon 2 Murlocs from your deck. Okay. The problem that I see with this, I mean, the effect is pretty strong. You get 2 minions and you could theoretically pull this off multiple times if you manage to kill multiple things with Finya. But generally the Murlocs aren't very strong, so pulling 2 of them from your deck is not as effective as pulling something else. Pulling 2 random minions or something like that. It's 5 mana, so you throw it out pretty late. And at that point in the game, is a 2/4 going to kill anything? Especially because your opponent knows that you have it and he's not going to play anything small enough to be killed by 2 attack. Of course, you could buff it. Like, give it +4/+4, and then, yeah, then it could really kill something. But I also don't really see what kind of deck you'd want to play this in, because the only Murloc deck that sees some play right now is the combo Murloc deck. So the anything can happen. And there you don't really want, all you want in those decks is charge Murlocs and buff Murlocs. And this is neither. So if you revive this one, then you just fill up your deck, or you fill up your board with Murlocs that don't help you. So in the only Murloc deck that is in play right now, this would actually be counterproductive, I think. In Arena, obviously, horrible card. Don't pick this.